So I have a very difficult decision that I need to make as it pertains to some of the farming infrastructure that we have here. And I decided I'm gonna make a video about it. Before we do that, I'm just gonna go over to the chicken coop, give you a quick update on some of those upgrades that I made for the winter. Let's take a quick look. So it is super frosty right now at the chicken coop. Let's take a quick peek inside. And here they are. They're still doing pretty good. We do have some frostbite on the comb of our rooster. We're gonna have to do something about that. That's looking a little bit worse. But I have put up a little heat lamp for them. That's on a timer, so they do have the option to get some heat during the day. Dropping the nesting boxes has been great for their laying. They're laying eggs only in the nesting boxes ever since I've done this. I'll come back for those eggs. Watering system has not frozen up at all, and they're doing great. All things considered, first year with chickens, first winter, I'm pretty happy. So it's currently minus 28 degrees Celsius. With a wind chill, it feels like minus 42. So this is no joke out here, guys. But I have another piece of infrastructure that I need to start thinking about. I'm just gonna walk over there and I'll show you kind of what I'm dealing with. Okay. Okay, so this is a heated water bowl that came with the property. This water bowl looks like it's been here for a pretty long time, but for the most part, I don't really use it because I don't have animals. And so one of the things that I'd like to do is be able to turn the power off to it so I'm not burning electricity in the winter. And that doesn't seem to be an option for me. So yeah, basically in here, I have this heating element, which is normally supposed to heat this water that would be in this bowl. And it also seems to keep any of the hoses in here warm enough to not freeze as well. But if I shut that off, there's still water pressure going to this line. It's just at ground level where that ball valve is. So I'm afraid to turn this thing off. I don't know what's gonna happen. Now, one of the reasons that I came out here was to see if I could figure out how much electricity this thing actually uses. And I don't have any equipment to do that. I was just hoping to be able to read it off the inside of this thing. So let's take a look. I don't think I'm gonna find any markings on this that will tell me how much electricity this thing uses. I don't see a brand. I don't see a single thing. The issue is this line is shared with my heated hydrant line, which is just over there. And so I can't exactly turn this line off at the well without sacrificing the water that I use to provide water to my chickens. So effectively what's happening here is I'm leaving this thing on. I'm burning, I don't know how much electricity, because it's not really set up in a way where it can be shut down for the winter properly. And I actually called a guy about this, and he said that that's actually pretty common for out here. Farmers will typically try and save a little bit of money under the assumption that they're always going to have animals on the farm. Now, I'd like to have animals someday, but I don't have any today. I don't anticipate getting any animals anytime soon. So I don't know what to do with this thing. Okay, it's getting really cold, so I'm going to go into my greenhouse. So I did some research to try and see what the solution would be to actually fix a problem like this. And it seems like the solution would be to dig down to the water line and install a curb stop valve. So I don't know a lot about curb stop valves. My understanding is they get their name because typically in residential settings, there's a curb stop valve at every house at the curb to basically shut off the water from the city in the event that some major plumbing work needs to be done. Effectively, what we're looking at is putting the same thing in here. I believe in this environment, it needs to go 8 feet down. That's kind of where our frost line is. And you would basically use some kind of wrench to shut this valve off from ground level when you want to turn off the water. Curb stop valves come in different flavors. One will drain, one will not drain. So we would need one that actually drains the water line afterwards to make sure that the line doesn't freeze while it's not being heated in the winter. All in all, the rough quote that I got was around $2,000. $500 for the curb stop valve and $1,500 to actually do the excavation. And that's assuming we know where the water line is, which I have a vague idea of, but I don't entirely know. And I'm assuming that the price is also going to go up if we nick a power line or something like that. There's probably a power line buried right next to this water line. That's another point of concern. So those are the two options that we're looking at. We can install a curb stop valve for $2,000, or I can pay every year forever for this heated waterer.
Hey, it's me from the future, just stepping in while editing because this part of the video is actually pretty boring watching me do calculations in real time, so I'm just going to go over them really fast right now. We've covered that we don't know the exact specs of this waterer, so going by the different models that are available online, I'm seeing that they can draw anywhere between 320 to 500 watts. Since I don't know what this particular waterer does, we're just going to split the difference and use 410 watts for our calculations. We also don't know if this is thermostatically controlled, so I'm going to do two calculations. One assuming that we're drawing power for 8 hours a day, and a worst case scenario calculation assuming we are drawing power for 24 hours a day. So that's roughly between 3,000 and 10,000 watt hours per day. Just to make these calculations easy, I'm just going to assume 30-day months, 5 months out of the year. Let's just convert that down to kilowatt hours. My local rate for electricity is roughly 15 cents per kilowatt hour. That leaves us anywhere between $73.80 to $221.40 per year to run this heater. Let's cut back to the video to watch my reaction.
Honestly, that doesn't sound that bad. I could live with that, assuming it's only running for 8 hours a day, and it is only drawing 410 watts. We're gonna have to verify this eventually with some kind of measurement. If we go ahead and assume that this thing is running 24/7, that's a little bit harder to swallow. So it'll cost anywhere between $73 and $221 to run this heated waterer straight for 5 months, regardless of whether there are animals using it or not. Let's assume at the worst end, we're spending $221 per year. A $2,000 investment to save that cost will pay itself back in just over 9 years. That's a really tough call. I'm not really sure what to do. There is one other option, and this was the option I was really leaning towards when I thought about filming this video. And that option is to actually just go out there and shut the power off and just hope that the lines don't burst. I kind of thought this was a clever idea at first. I could make do for a period of time. If that line bursts, I needed to shut that well off. While the line may freeze, there is a chance that it won't burst, but I don't really have a lot of confidence in this area. I can't really say one way or the other. But right now, the guy in this area with the excavator that would do this job is booking for spring right now in December. And he said that his year is probably gonna fill up by March. And I may not necessarily know if the line has burst or not by March. So I may have to take this thing out of commission until 2024, which I think is a little bit longer than I'm willing to do. If it was a month, I think I'd be willing to do it. But having that hydrant out of commission for that long, it just doesn't seem like a good idea to me. We use that hydrant right now to actually do all the irrigation for the farm in the summer. And I do fill up buckets of water and bring those to the chickens as well. So having that down for an entire season is kind of a no-go. So I'm not really sure which option I'm gonna go with just yet. But let me know, what would you do if you were in my position? $2,000 is a lot of money, but it's worth noting that if that curb stop valve was put in at the time of installation with the rest of the infrastructure, it would have only really added the price of the valve itself, which is around $500. So we're paying $1,500 extra to re-excavate and redo everything. Initially, I thought it was pretty short-sighted of the original owners to not incur that cost at time of installation. But I really shouldn't be judging them that harshly. It is hard living out here, and a lot of people that live out here don't have a lot of money, which is a shame. But that's life. It's something that you should take into account if you're like me, you've never lived in the country before, and you buy an old property from some old farmers, expect a bunch of things to be done on the cheap. because that's just how they do it out here. And that's really why I wanted to make this video. I think it's really interesting, the creative way that farmers will do things. And I wanted to give you some insight into the decision-making process when it comes to making financial decisions like this. So with all that said and done, I hope you enjoyed the video. Okay, so it's been a few days since I actually shot the earlier parts of this video. I've been thinking a little bit more about what I'm gonna do, and I don't think it's a good idea to proceed with installing the curb stop valve. When I was reviewing the footage that I had shot, I was basing all of my payback period calculations on the assumption that it was consuming 400 watts of power 24/7. And since I'm not actually able to prove that, it's just as likely that we're only using it 8 hours out of the day, which would change the payback period from just over 9 years to about 27 years. So that doesn't seem like a great idea. Actually spending $2,000 to get more compost, to buy more equipment to help us plant faster, that just seems like a significantly better investment and will make us money faster than just installing this thing will save us. So this isn't necessarily over. We also don't know for sure what the wattage of this machine is. I will revisit this topic. I will measure the electricity usage at some point once I have those tools available to me. But for now, we're just gonna leave it there. And we could even explore some other cheaper alternatives to save electricity in the future. So subscribe if you want to see that in the future. But for now, thanks for watching and sleep well tonight.